Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today's Bhagavad Gita Jayanti celebration. Today we are going to read 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, all the 18 chapters on the occasion of Bhagavad Gita Jayanti. We will read the Sanskrit shlokas along with the English translation, beginning with chapter number 1. Bhagavad Gita, as it is translated from Sanskrit to English by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, with offering my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Radha Krishna, we are beginning our recitation of Bhagavad Gita with chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 is titled as Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text number 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samavitaya yutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kima kurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said to Sanjaya, O Sanjaya, after my sons and sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Sanjaya, who is blessed by Vedvyasji, has a divine vision and he is able to see the battlefield of Kurukshetra in front of his eyes. He is able to hear what is happening on the Kurukshetra, and he is describing now to Dhritarashtra, who is a blind king, and he is describing about entire battlefield. Sanjaya uvacha drishtva tu pandavanikam vyudham duryodhanastada acharya upasangamyam Raja Vachanama Praveed. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by sons of Pandu, King Duryodhan went to his teacher and spoke following words. So Duryodhan goes to Dronacharya and speaks as follows. Duryodhan says, Bhashyetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamu Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Sishyena Dhimata. Duryodhana is saying to Dronacharya, O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, who expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Atra Shura Maheshwasha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharatha. So Duryodhana is describing the Pandava army and he is saying, here in the army are many heroic women, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virat and Drupada. So he's comparing between the two armies, Kaurava and Pandava's army. Further, Duryodhana is describing the army. He's saying, Drushta Ketus Chekitana Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujita Kunti Bhojascha Shaivyascha Narapungava. Duryodhana says further to Dronacharya, there are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja and Shaibya. So Duryodhana is describing the armies on both the sides, on Pandava side as well as on the Kaurava side, and he's mentioning the great fighters. Further he says, Yuddhamanyuscha Vikranta उत्तमौजश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयश्च sarvaiva maharatha. Duryodhana says, there are mighty Yuddhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra and the son of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tanni bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sagnartham tam bravimite. Duryodhana further says to Dronacharya, but for your information, Dronacharya, O best of Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are specially qualified to lead my military force. So he's now talking about his own army. He's saying, Bhavam Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Sammitim Jaya Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattis Tateva. Duryodhan says, there are personalities like you means Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Kripacharya, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta, called Bhurishwara, who are always victorious in battle. He is glorifying his own army. Duryodhan further says, Anyecha Bahava Shura Madarthe Tyakta Jivita Nana Shastra Praharna Sarve Yuddha Visharada. He says, there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake, Dronacharya. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in the military science. But Duryodhana is telling to Dronacharya because Dronacharya had a special affection for Pandavas. So now he is in turn saying that my army is very powerful. Don't be lenient in fight against Pandavas. Further, he is comparing now the armies of Pandavas with Kauravas. He says, Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tvam idam etesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. Duryodhana is saying, our strength, Kaurava strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by the grandfather Bhishma Pitamaha, whereas the strength of Pandava, which is carefully protected by Bhima, is very limited. So he's saying that my strength is much more than Pandava's strength. Further, Duryodhana says, Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avastita Bhishmameva bhirakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. Then he says to other people as well as to Dronacharya, all of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategies points of entrance in the phalanx of army. He is asking special protection for Bhishma because he knows that as long as Bhishma is there, they can't lose the battle. Bhishma Pitama was equal to 25,000 Arjunas. Further, Tassa Sanjanayan Harsham Guru Vruddham Pitamaha Simanadan Vinadyoscha Shankham Dadmo Pratapavan. Then Sanjaya further describes to blind king Dhritarashtra, he says, Bhishma Pitama, who is the great valiant grandsire of Kuru dynasty, who is the grandfather of all the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly. And the sound of that conch shell was like the roar of a lion. And this conch shell sound gave Duryodhana joy because Duryodhana thought, now we are going to win this war. Sanjaya further describes, Tatha Shankascha Bhairyascha Panavanaka Gomukha Sahasaivaabhyahayanta Sashabdastu Mulo Bhava. After that, the conch shells, the drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. So everybody started blowing their conch shells. And there were drums, then everybody was ready to fight. Now the fight is about to begin on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everybody's ready. Duryodhana is very enthusiastic to fight. Bhishma Pitama has blown his conch shell and everybody has blown their conch shells. The fight is about to begin. Tatah svetir hayir yukte mahati syandane sthito mahadhava pandavaschaiva Divya Shankho Pradadmatu. Sanjaya now is describing the scene on the battlefield because he has been blessed by divine vision. Sanjay says that as soon as Bhishma Pitama started blowing his conch shell, on the other hand, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shell, Divya Shankho. Transcendental conch shells were blown by Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Paundradadmo Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrukodara. Now here is the description of the transcendental conch shells of Lord Krishna as well as Arjuna and Bhima. Sanjay says, Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called as Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his conch shell called as Devadatta. And Bhima, who is a voracious eater and who is performer of Herculean task, Bhima blew his terrible conch shell. What was the name of that? Poundra. Further, the name of the conch shells of all other Pandavas are mentioned here. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Nakula Sahadevascha Shughosha Mani Pushpako Kaschascha Parameshvasa Shikhandi Cha Maharatha Drushtadhyumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajita Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Prithvipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankhadadmu Prathak Prathak Shankhadadmu Prathak Prathak. Sanjaya is describing King Yudhishthir, who is the son of Mother Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya. Nakula and Sahadev, they were the brothers of Pandavas. They blew the conch shell named as Sughosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Drushtadhyumna, Virat, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and all others, O King Dhritarashtra, such a mighty armed son of Subhadra, all of them blew their respective conch shells. So here everybody's mention is, names are mentioned. Further, Sanjay is saying, Saghosho Dhartarashtrana Hridayani Vedarayat Nabascha Prithvim Chaiva Tumulo Abhayanunadaya. The blowing of these different conch shells by Pandavas became uproarious. vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. And as soon as the Duryodhana and all the sons of Dhritarashtra heard this transcendental conscience by Lord Krishna and the Pandavas, it shattered the hearts of these sons of Dhritarashtra. अथ व्यवस्थितानां दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वज प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पत्ते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवा ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् idam आह महीपते. Sanjaya now is describing, at that time Arjuna, who was the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot, the chariot had a flag which was marked with Hanuman. Arjuna took up his bow and he prepared to shoot his arrow. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in the military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna as follows. So now Arjuna is ready to fight, and Arjuna has the sign of Hanumanji, which is Hanumanji is the representative of victory. So victory is guaranteed for Pandavas. Arjuna says, Arjuna vacha. Arjuna now is saying to Lord Krishna, Senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapaya me achyuta yavadetan niriksheham yaudhakaman avastitan. Arjuna is requesting Lord Krishna. He says, Kairamaya saha yodhavyam asmin rana samudyame. Arjuna is saying, O infallible Lord Krishna, please drive my chariot between these two armies so that I can see those who are present on both the sides, who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So he wanted to observe the army because he wanted to gauge who is there and how the strength of the army is. So first Dhritarashtra gauged the strength on the both sides. Now Arjuna want to gauge the strength on both the sides. So he's asking Krishna, please drive my chariot between the two armies. He says further, Yo tasya manan aveksheham yaete atra samagata Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhe yuddhe priya chikirshava. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please this evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra, whose name is Duryodhana. At that time, Sanjaya, now after describing this, Sanjaya further says to Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya Vacha Evam Mukto Rushikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayorubhayor Madhye Sthapayitva Rathottama. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of armies of both the parties. Bhishma Drona Pramukhata Sarvisham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetan Samavetan Kurunti. Now Sanjaya is describing conversation happening between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. And now Sanjaya is saying that now Lord Krishna starts speaking. And he says, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona and all other chieftains of the world, Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, Hey Arjuna, Just behold, all the Kurus are assembled here. So Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna that please watch the armies on both the sides. Tatra pashyat stithan partha pitran atha pitamaha acharya matulam bhartran putran pautran sakhim statha swashuran suradaschaiva senayorubhayorapi. Now Arjuna is seeing everywhere. And what did Arjuna see? Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies on both the sides his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. So he sees his own family and friends and relatives. Tan samiksha cha kaunteya sarvan bandhun avastitan kripaya paryavishto vishiddannidam abravit. When the sons of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, Arjuna became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. So now Arjuna is becoming very compassionate when he sees family and friends on both the sides. At that time Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, Arjuna vacha drashtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupastitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body are quivering and my mouth is drying up. So Arjuna is now becoming very emotional. He's saying to Lord Krishna, Vepasthu cha sharire me romaharshascha jayate Gandivam shamaste hastat tvakchaiva paridayate. Arjuna is saying, hey Krishna, my whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, and my Gandiva bow is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. Hey Krishna, I cannot tolerate this. I am really becoming disturbed now. Further Arjuna says to Lord Krishna, Nacha sakshnomi avasthatum brahmati vachame manaha nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, Hey Krishna, I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only cause of misfortune. O Krishna, O killer of Keshi demon, Keshava. So he is saying that I am really confused now. I cannot stand here. Arjuna says to Lord Krishna, Nacha shreho anupashyami hatva svajanam ahave na kangshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. Arjuna says, hey Krishna, I do not see how any good can come from killings of my own kinsman in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom or happiness. He says, I don't want to kill my family members and friends. Further, Arjuna says to Lord Krishna, Kim no rajyena govinda, kim bhoge jivitena va, ye shamarthe kangshitam, no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha taime avastita yuddhe pranastava rakta dhanani cha acharya pitara putras तथा एव च पितामह मातुला स्वशुरा पौत्र श्याला संबंधिनस्तथा एतां हन्तुम् इच्छामि नोति अपि मधुसूदना अपि त्रैलोक्य राज्यस्य हेतो किनु मही कृते निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्राणां का प्रीति स्या Janardana. Hey, Arjuna is saying, hey Janardana, hey Govinda, of what is the use to us this kingdom, happiness, even the life itself, when all those for whom we may desire this are now arrayed on the battlefield? Hey Madhusudana, when the teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father in law, grandsons, brother in law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for three words. Let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So Arjuna is saying to Krishna, hey Krishna, if you give me all the three lokas, Bhur Swaha also, I do not want it at the cost of my family members and friends. Further he says, Papam eva dasman hatvetan atataina tasmannaharvayam hantum dhartarashtraancha bandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina shyama madhava. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, sins will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Arjuna further is saying to Krishna, Yadi api ete na pashyanti lobhopahata chetasa kulakshaya kritam dosham mitradrohe cha patakam katham nagneyam asambhi पापादस्मान् निवर्तितुं कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं प्रपश्याद्भिर्जनार्दन. Arjuna is saying to Krishna, hey Janardana, although this man, the Kauravas, their heart is overtaken by greed and see no fault in killing one's family or conquering with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying the family, engage in these acts of sin? So Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna that even though they are greedy, we should not be like them and kill them. Text number 39. Kulakshaye pranashanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharmanaste kulam shratnam krishnam adharmo abhibhavati uta. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in a religion. So Arjuna is saying that if we kill them, then the whole dynasty will be killed, and the family will be involved in irreligious activities. Adharma bhivat Krishna pradushyanti kula striya Strishu dusto varshneya jayate varna shankara. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of family become polluted. And from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So here Arjuna is describing that once the male members of the family they are finished, then the woman will be not protected, and then they will be degraded. Shankaro narakachaiva kulagnanam kulakshaya patanti pitaro yesha lupta pindo daka kriya. Arjuna further is describing, Arjun Bhagavan को कहते हैं, Hey Krishna, an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for family and for those who destroy the family tradition. Ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performers for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. So when there is no male members to look after the family, when women are not protected, then all the process for offering the ancestors are stopped, and then the whole tradition is destroyed and everything degrades. Text number 42, chapter number 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Dosherete kulagnanam varnashankara karake utsadayante jati dharma kula dharmasya shashvata. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, by the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus gives rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and the family welfare activities are devastated. Text number 43, first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Utsana kula dharmana manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavati hiti anushrama. Arjuna is saying, Oh Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession from previous acharyas that those whose family traditions are destroyed, they go to the hell. So Arjuna further is saying to Lord Krishna, Aho bhata mahapapam kartum vyavasita vayam yadarajya sukhalobhena hantum swajanam udayataha. Arjuna is saying, alas, how strange it is that we are prepared to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Hare Krishna. So here Arjuna is saying that we all are so much selfish that just to enjoy this kingdom, we all are willing to kill each other and family members and friends. What sort of selfish behavior is this, Janardana? Text number 45, chapter number 1. Yadi mam pratikaram ashastram shastra panaya dhartarashtra rane hanyus tanme ksheme taram bhave. Tanme kshema taram bhave. Arjuna is saying, Hey Krishna, better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with their weapons in hand, they kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield, rather than me killing them. So text number 46. Further, Sanjaya now, who is describing this conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, Sanjaya is saying to Dhritarashtra, Emam uktvarjuna sankhye rathopastha upavisha visarja sasharam chapam shoka samvigna manasa. Sanjay says, Hey Krishna, O Dhritarashtra, Arjuna, having thus spoken to Lord Krishna on the battlefield, Arjuna put aside his bow and arrow and he sat down on his chariot. His mind was overwhelmed with grief and he was depressed and he was not sure what to do. So he put down his bow and arrow. He decided that I am not able to fight anymore. So thus ends the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is arrangement of army on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where we have learned a lot of people who have assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. I would like to welcome all the devotees who are joining us here and all the devotees who are joining us online as well. Thank you so much for being with us. We will continue our journey on the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll continue reading entire 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita with Sanskrit and English translation, and try to understand and get the blessings of Lord Krishna on this auspicious day of Bhagavad Gita Jayanti. So chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita, the contents of Gita summarized, which is also called a Sankhya Yoga chapter. Sanjaya now further is describing to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya is saying, Tam Sanjaya Vacha, Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam, Ashrupurna Kulekshanam, Vishidantam Idam Vakyam, Uvacha Madhusudana. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and Arjuna's mind depressed, Arjuna's eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Lord Krishna, spoke the following words. So, Arjuna is now depressed. He is crying, and Lord Krishna saw Arjuna and he wanted to help him out. So, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Kutastva Kashmalam Idam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justham Asarvam Akirti Karam Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, Lord Krishna is saying, how these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting to a man who knows the value of human life. These impurities lead not to higher planets but to infamy, akirti. Further, Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Klaibhyam asmagama partha naitadvaya upapadye Shudram hridaya daurbalyam Tyaktotishta parantapaha. Arjuna, Lord Krishna is saying, hey parantapaha, you are a chastiser of enemy. O son of Prutha, your mother is Prutha, Kunti. Do not yield this degrading importance. It does not become you. It does not suit you. Hey Arjuna, give up this pretty weakness of heart. Get up, O chastiser of enemy, and fight. But Arjuna, who is overwhelmed by the compassion and sorrow and is depressed, he is saying to Lord Krishna, Katham Arjuna Vacha, Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankhi, Dronam Cha Madhusudanam, Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami, Pujarva Arisudana. Arjuna is saying, hey Krishna, you are Arisudana, you are the killer of demons and enemies, and you are the one who killed the demon Madhu. But how can I counterattack with my arrows in the battle with my great grandfather Bhishma Pitamaha, my teacher Dronacharya, who are worthy of puja, worship? You kill the demons, but you are asking me to kill my grandfather and my guru. I cannot do that. Arjuna is giving argument to Lord Krishna. He is saying, Gurun nahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyam api loke atvartha kamamstu gurun iheva bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradhigna. Arjuna is saying, hey Krishna, it would be better for me to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of lives of great souls who are my guru, my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood, and I do not want to do that. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, Nai chaitad vidmaha kataram na garyo yadva jayem yadiva no jayehu yan eva hatva na jijivisham te avastita pramukhe dhartarashtra. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, Hey Arjuna, hey Lord Krishna, sorry, nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet, they are now standing before us on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is saying now, this is the turning point of Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, Karpanya doshokta svabhava pruchhami tvam dharma sambhudha cheta yashayashan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyateham sadhimam tvam prapannam. In this second chapter, 7th shloka, now Lord Arjuna is accepting Lord Krishna as a guru and is saying Shishyateham sadhimam tvam prapannam. Arjuna is saying to Lord Krishna, hey Krishna, now I am completely confused about my duty. And I have lost all the composure because of my miserly weakness of my heart. In this condition, I am asking you, Janardana, hey Govinda, please tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple, hey Govinda, and I am a soul surrendered unto you. Can you please instruct me, Govinda? So with this shloka, we all are also surrendering to Lord Krishna at this time. Let's surrender to Lord Krishna, because unless and until we surrender to Krishna, we will not understand Bhagavad Gita. So for next reading of entire Bhagavad Gita, we have to think that Krishna is going to speak to us in this Bhagavad Gita. We have accepted Krishna as our Guru, our Acharya, and in that mood of Arjuna, we are going to learn and read this Bhagavad Gita. So with this shloka, we are all surrendering to Lord Krishna. Arjuna is saying, Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyad yashokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumava asapatanam raddham rajyam suranam apichadhipatyam. Arjuna is saying, Krishna, I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. Hey Krishna, I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on the earth. with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Hey Krishna, if I win this war also, I don't care because this grief is so deep that I cannot overcome it. At that time, Sanjaya further is describing to Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya Vacha Emam Uktva Rishikesham Gudakesha Parantapaha Nayotsya iti Govindam Uktva Tushnim Babhuvaha. Sanjay is saying to Dhritarashtra, having spoken thus, Arjuna, who is the chastiser of enemy, told to Krishna, Hey Govinda, I shall not fight. And Arjuna became silent. So Arjuna has decided that I am not going to fight. At that time, Lord Krishna, after Arjuna having accepted him as a guru, Lord Krishna starts instructing Arjuna. Lord Krishna is saying, Dhamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasan Eva Bharata Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Vishitan Idam Vacha. Lord Krishna is saying, Lord, at that time, Lord Krishna, smiling in the midst of the armies, spoke the following words to grief-stricken Arjuna. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asochan Anvasocastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasum Agatasum Cha Dhanu Shochanti Pandita. Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said to Arjuna, Hey Arjuna, while speaking these learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are Pandita, Pandita means those who are wise, knowledgeable, they lament neither for living nor for dead. Further, Lord Krishna is saying, Anatva evaham jatu nasham natvam neme janadipaha nayachaiva na bhavishyama sarve vayam ataparam. Hey Arjuna, never was there a time when I, Lord Krishna, did not exist, nor you, Arjuna, nor all these kings on the battlefield, and nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Arjuna is saying, we will always be there, we were there in the past, we are now, and we always will be there in the future. Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna, second chapter, 13th shloka, Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra na bhuyate. Lord Krishna is saying, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. A person who is a sober, dhira, he is not bewildered by such a change. So change is compulsory and it's constantly happening. The soul has to transmigrate from one body to another. At the time of death, as we are transmigrating and we're changing this body also, even in this life. Lord Krishna is saying, Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkadha agamapaino nityas tam satitikshava bharata. Hey Arjuna, you are the son of great Mother Kunti. Understand that the non-permanent nature of happiness and distress, its appearance and disappearance, is just like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. Winter comes, winter goes, summer comes, summer goes. Similarly, happiness and distress will come and go. This happiness and distress, or summer and winter, they are due to sense perception, O son of Bharata. And one must learn to tolerate happiness and distress as we tolerate winter and summer without being disturbed. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Yam hina vyathayanti ethe purusham purusharshubha sama dukkha sukham dhiram sohamrutavya kalpate. O best among the men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress, and one who is steady in both, is eligible for liberation. Lord Krishna is saying, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drushtovantas, tvanyos tatvadarshibhi. Those who are seers of truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. And of the eternal soul, there is no change. These they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So body is not permanent and the soul is permanent. This is conclusion. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. Lord Krishna is talking about soul now and is telling to Arjuna that, hey Arjuna, the soul which is permanent and that soul which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. You cannot destroy the soul. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So we are spirit soul and we are eternal. Lord Krishna says, Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta sharirina anashino prameyasya tasmad yuddhasva bharata. Now Krishna is saying, the material body of this indestructible, immeasurable and eternal living entity which is soul is sure to come to an end. Hey Arjuna, you cannot keep this body forever. The soul is permanent, the body has to die. Hence, you must fight, O descendant of Bharat. Lord Krishna is saying, Yainam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity, the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not nor is slain. So here, soul is neutral. Soul cannot be killed or soul cannot kill anyone also. So you must understand this nature of the soul. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयात् अजो नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. So in this 20th shloka of second chapter, Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna about the nature of the soul. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. Soul has not come into being, soul does not come into being and will not come into being. Soul is unborn, soul is eternal and everlasting and primeval. Soul is not slain when the body is slain. So soul is ever existing and you cannot kill the soul. So we are basically all eternal entities. We cannot be killed. Veda vinashinam nityam yaenam ajamavyayam katham sa purushaha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Hey Arjuna, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So Lord Krishna is emphasizing on the soul that soul is very tiny, minute, unborn, eternal, so you cannot kill the soul. Here Lord Krishna is giving an analogy. He is saying, Vamsamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Lord Krishna gives analogy throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And the first analogy Lord Krishna is saying here is that as we buy the new garments, new clothes, and we give up the old clothes, similarly the soul accepts the new body, giving up the body when it becomes old or useless. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo, na shoshyati maruta. Lord Krishna further gives us the knowledge about the soul, and he says, the soul is so minute that it cannot be cut into pieces by weapons, nor soul can be burned by a fire, nor soul can be moistened by the water, nor wind has its effect on the soul. The soul is very, very minute, and it is not affected by any external factors. Achedyoyam adayoyam akledyo ashoshya evacha nitya sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanatana. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned nor dried. The soul is everlasting. Soul is present everywhere, and the soul is unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the soul remains the same. Soul does not change the size or shape. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryo ayamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanusochitum arhasi. It is said that soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for body, O Arjuna. Atha chainam nitya jatam nityava manyase mrutam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam sochitum arhasi. If, however, Arjuna, suppose you think that the soul will be born and then die forever, which is not true, but even if you think that soul will die, you still have no reason to lament, O Arjuna. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad aparharyarthe natam shochitum arhasi. Arjuna says, Lord Krishna says, one who has taken the birth is sure to die. And after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, O Arjuna, you should not lament. Just do your duty. अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनानि एव तत्र का परिदेवना. All created beings are unmanifested in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and then they unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for you for lamentation, Arjuna? So everything is temporary here. People come, stay and go, come, stay and go. Everything is temporary. So why are you lamenting here? आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवद् वदति तथैव चान्यम् आश्चर्यवत् चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वापि एनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. Lord Krishna is saying, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and others hear him of amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So Lord Krishna is saying that it is very difficult to understand the soul, even after deep study. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam dehi sarvasya bharata tasmad sarvani bhutani natvam shochitam arhasi. O descendant of King Bharat, he who dwells in this body, which is the soul, can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So Arjuna was having grief about possibility of death of his family members and friends. But Lord Krishna is saying that everybody will be always there because they are all spirit souls. You must do your duty as a soldier, as a kshatriya. Text 31. Swadharmamapi cha veksham navikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddhashreyo anyad kshatriyasya na vidyate. Hey Arjuna, you must consider your duty as a kshatriya. You should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on the religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. So this yuddha, this battle was yuddha, dharma yuddha, and Arjuna was fighting on behalf of dharma. So Lord Krishna is saying that you must do your duty as a soldier, as a kshatriya. Further Lord Krishna says, yadaicha yacha papanam swargadvaram apavratam sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhanam idrisham. O Partha, happy are the kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. So when a kshatriya performs or his duty, then it is blessing for them. Atha chetatvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapshasi. If, however, you, Arjuna, do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then, hey Arjuna, you will certainly incur sinful reactions for neglecting your duty. And thus, you will lose your reputation as a fighter. Text 34. Agritim chapi bhutani kathashyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtir maranad atirichyate. People will always speak of your infamy, that hey, Arjuna ran away from the battle. And for respectable people, dishonor is worse than death. So you must think about your fame and glories, and uh, you'll be criticized by people. भयाद्रणाद् उपारातं ममष्यन्ते त्वं महारथा येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यशस्वी लाघवम्. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of intense fear, and thus they will consider you as insignificant. अव्यच बाहुं वदिष्यन्ति तवाहितं निन्दनस् निन्दनस्तस्त्व तव निन्दनस्ताव समग्रह्यं ततो सुखतरं नु किम्. Your enemy will describe you in many unkind words, Arjuna, and they will scorn your ability. What would be more painful for you? अतो वा प्राप्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महिम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चया. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain a heavenly planet, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Arjuna, Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna, Sukha Dukkha Same Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo Tato Yuddhaya Yujyasva Naivam Papam Avapshashi. Do thy fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you will never incur sin. Esham te abhita sankhe buddhi yoge tvayimam shunum buddhya yukto yaha partha karma prandam prahasyase. So Lord Krishna says, "Hey Arjuna, I have explained you as of now the knowledge about soul through analytical study, to Sankhya Yoga. Now listen as I tell you in terms of working without fruitive results. So Karma Yoga. So Lord Krishna is saying, I told you about Sankhya Yoga, now I'm explaining you about Karma Yoga. When you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of work. Lord Krishna says, Neha bhikrama nastosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam asyapi dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor means in the path of Karma Yoga, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advantage on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. व्यवसायत्मिका बुद्धिर एकेह कुरु नंदन बहुशाखा हि अनन्तश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिना. Lord Krishna is saying, those who are on this path, which is Bhakti Yoga, they are irresolute in the purpose, and their aim is only one. O beloved of Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. So we should have one pointed focus concentration. Lord Krishna is saying further, Yamaimam pushpitam vacham pravadyanti avipashyata vedavadaratam partha नान्यादस्तीति वदिनः कामात्मनः स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदम् क्रिया विशेष बहुलां भोगेश्वर्य गतिं प्रहि. Translation: Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of Vedas. And the Vedas recommended various karmakanda, fruitive activities for heavenly planets' elevation, resulting in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, Vedas say that there is nothing more than this. This means going to heavenly planet. Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya partha chitsam vyavasaitmika buddhir samadho na vidiyate. Lord Krishna says, in the minds of those who are too much attached to the sense enjoyment and material opulence, and those who are bewildered by such material opulences, for them, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Lord does not take place. So if you are too much attached, then it's very difficult to do bhakti. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nirashrita Gunya Bhavarjana Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho Niryoga Kshematmavan. Lord Krishna is saying, the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes of nature. What are the three modes of nature? Sattva guna, Rajaguna and Tamoguna. Goodness, passion and ignorance. And Vedas deal with that. Be free from all the dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in yourself. Yavan artha udapani sarvata samaluptodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanata. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind the Vedas. This is one of the most famous shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturbhur ma te sangostava karmani. What is Lord Krishna saying? Let's all recite together. You have a right. Let's read together. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyakta dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Perform your duty equiposed, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called as yoga. Durena hyevaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanam anvichha krupana phala hetava. Lord Krishna is warning Arjuna, hey Dhananjaya, keep all the abominable activities far distant by devotional service, buddhi yoga, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are called as Kripana, miser, while devotees will use whatever they have for the service of Krishna. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yogat karmashu kaushalam. A man engaged in devotional service get rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all the work. So Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna that you perform Buddhi Yoga. Karmajam Buddhi Yukta hi phalam tyakta manishina janma bandha vinirmukta padam gachanti anamayam. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the result of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death, and they attain the state beyond the miseries. Text 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantashi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Lord Krishna says, when your intelligence has passed out of dense forest of illusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has become heard and all that is to be heard. So when you have removed your illusion, then you will be stable and you will be able to know that what is the fact. Text 53, second chapter. Shruti vipratipannate yada sthashyati nischala samadhav achala buddhi tatha yogam avapshashi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of Vedas, and when your mind is fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. After hearing this, Arjuna is inquisitive and he is asking to Lord Krishna. Arjuna vacha sthita pragnaska bhasha samadhisyasya keshava sthita diha kim prabhasheta kimashita vrajeta kim. Arjuna says, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of those whose consciousness is thus merged in the transcendence? How do they speak? What is their language? How do they see it? And how does one talk when one is transcendental to the external material modes of nature? Text 55, second chapter. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. When Arjuna asked this question to Lord Krishna now is describing to Arjuna about the Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna is one who is not disturbed. So Bhagavan says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatam atmani eva atmana tushtha sthita prajna tadauchyate. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when one's mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then one is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So when one gives up the desire for sense gratification and one becomes stable, then he is progresses towards the transcendental consciousness. Such a person who has this transcendental consciousness, his symptoms are described here. Dukheshva anudvegamana dvegna manaha sukeshu vigata spruha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthita dhirmuniruchyate. Such a person who is transcendental, who is dhira, the sthita prajna, one who is not disturbed in mind even in midst of threefold miseries. So he does not become disturbed when there is a problem in the life. Elated when there is happiness. And he is free from both attachment, fear and anger. Such a person is called a sage of steady mind, Sthita Dhira Muni. So he is not disturbed when there is bad time, he is not too much excited when there is a good time, but he is equibalanced. He is free from attachment of fear and anger. Attachment, fear and anger. Yaha sarvatra anabhishnehas tata tata prapya shubha shubham nabhinananti nadveshti tasya pragna pratishtita. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, he is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One does not get too much excited or too much depressed when there is a good time or the bad time. Yada samharate chayam kurmo agni va sarvashah kurvo angani va sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya pragna pratishtita. So Lord Krishna is giving an analogy here, and he is giving an analogy of tortoise. He's saying that the person who is dhira, one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limb within the shell, such a person is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So sense control is one of the quality of Sthita Prajna. Vishaya vinivartante nirarasya dehina rasavarjam rasopi asya param drishtva nivartate. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment artificially, but the test for the sense enjoyment is still there. But ceasing by this sense engagements by experiencing a higher test, param drishtva nivartate. By experiencing a higher test, param, he is fixed in consciousness. That param taste, param drishtva, or higher taste is nothing but bhakti yoga. Yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitah indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manuha. These senses are so strong and impetus, O Arjuna, that the senses forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination, who knows what is right and what is wrong. Such a man also can get disturbed by these senses. Person who is trying to control the senses, But the mind is so powerful that it carries away the senses and disturbs that person. Text 61. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta ashita matah param vashe yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and one who fixes his consciousness upon me is known as the man of steady intelligence. So here Lord Krishna starts revealing his identity now to Arjuna slowly. He says that in Bhakti Yoga, you restrain your senses and focus them on Krishna. That is our process. So that is called Krishna consciousness. So bringing the consciousness to Krishna, and such a man is known as the man of steady intelligence. Dhyayato vishaya pumsha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodha vijayate. Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna about these senses. How does these senses work? So he's saying while sometimes contemplating on the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for those objects. And from such attachment, what comes? Lust. And what does lust do? Lust leads to anger. So everything begins with sense engagement, attachment, lust, and anger. Then what happens after once we have anger? Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibramaha, smriti brahmasad buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Lord Krishna says, from anger comes the delusion, and from delusion, which leads to bewilderment of memory. And when the memory is bewildered, then intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material pool. Text 64. Raga dvesha vimukstaistu vishayan indriyerischa atma vashir vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. But a person who is free from all attachment and aversion, and one who is able to control his senses through the regulative principle of freedom, can obtain complete mercy of the Lord. So, Lord Krishna is giving the instruction to Arjuna about sense control. Sense control is very important. Prasade sarva dukkhana hanir ashyo vajayate prasanna chetaso yasho buddhi parya avastite. Lord Krishna says, for one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied condition, one's intelligence is well established. When one becomes Krishna conscious, then he can control the senses and he becomes fixed and satisfied. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayataha shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. One who is not connected with Supreme Lord Shri Krishna can have neither transcendental intelligence nor steady mind, and without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be happiness without peace? This is a peace formula. And peace formula is to be connected with Supreme. Indriyanam hi charantam yanmano anuvidhyate tadasya harati prajna vayurnavami vabhasasi. Another analogy given by Lord Krishna here. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the senses which is roaming, and if the mind focuses upon it, then it can carry away the intelligence of man. So senses, then mind focuses, and then it disturbs the intelligence. Text 68. Further Lord Krishna says, Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigritani sarvasha indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya pragna pratishtita. Therefore, Arjuna, one whose senses are restrained from the objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Because senses disturbs the mind, and then mind disturbs the intelligence, and then everything is gone. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tashyam jagrati sanyami yashyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha parayanto mune. What is night for all beings is the time for awakening for self-controlled. And the time for awakening for all being is the night for the introspective sage. Lord Krishna further says, Aparyamanam achalam pratishtham samudram apaha pravishyanti yadvat tadvad kamayam pravishyanti sarve sashanti apnoti na kama kami. So Lord Krishna is giving more analogy, and he's saying that a person who is not disturbed by incessant flows of desires, and these desires enter just like rivers entering into the ocean. And the one who is, the ocean is always filled with the water, but still remains still, it doesn't get disturbed. Similarly, unnecessary and all those desires will come into your mind, but do not fill your mind with those. Do not let that desires disturb your mind. Such a person who does not allow desires or thought to disturb his life can only achieve peace, and not the person who runs behind this and try to fulfill the desires. Because even one set of desire is fulfilled, another set will arise. In this way, the desires will keep on popping up. Text 71. Vihaya kamanyah sarvan pumam charati nishpruha nirmamo nirahankara sashantim adhigacchati. Lord Krishna says, a person who has given up all the desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and one who is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So here is a peace formula, and he's saying that we should be all free of sense gratification, desires, of proprietorship and all, and no ego to become happy. Text 72. Esha brahmi sthite partha nainam prapya vimuyati sthitvasyam antakaleopi brahma nirvanam mrichyati. Lord Krishna says that is the way of spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So thus ends the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called Sankhya Yoga. So thank you everyone who are joining us online. People from Thunder Bay are also online, and people from Toronto and Marathon and different parts are online. Thank you everyone being part of our Bhagavad Gita reading. We are done with the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Sankhya Yoga. Now Lord Krishna in the Sankhya Yoga, Lord Krishna instructed Arjuna about the science of soul, introduced the Karma Yoga, and before talking about Karma Yoga in detail, Lord Krishna gave instruction about controlling the senses, which is very important because in our life, everything is about controlling the senses. If the senses are fixed on one thing, it disturbs the mind, and when mind is disturbed, the whole life is disturbed. So Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna, first you control your senses. Now further, Arjuna is asking a question. Text number 3, chapter number 3, text 1. Arjuna Vacha Jyasasi Cheta Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tata Kim Karmani Ghore Mam Niyojayashi Keshava. Arjuna is saying, Oh Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? So Arjuna is still confused and is asking Lord Krishna, Vyamishreneva Vakyena Buddhim Moya Shiva Evame Tadaekam Vada Nishchitya Yena Shreyoham Apnavaham. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions, O Krishna. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So Lord Krishna is saying now, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Loke Asmin Vividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayangha Mayanagha Gnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yogina. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, Anagha, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotional service. Nacha karmanam anarambham naishkarmyam purusho asnute nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain peace. So here, Lord Krishna is saying that you just cannot abstain from the work and think that you will be free from the reaction of the work. And you cannot renounce also just artificially and achieve perfection. Text 5. Nahi kaschit kshanam api jatu tishtati akarmakrit karyate hi avashah karma sarva prakriti chair gune. Everyone has to work. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Everybody has to do according to the qualities from the modes of nature. So sometimes we are in Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna. Everybody has to keep on working, whatever the mode of nature they are in. You cannot at all remain without doing anything like at any moment of time. Every time you are doing something or other. Lord Krishna further says, Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasa smaram indriyartham vimudhatma mithyachara uchyate. One who restrains the sense of actions, one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense object, certainly deludes himself and is called as mithyachara, pretender. So should not make the show of controlling the senses. Yastva indriyani manasa indriyamyarthabhete Arjuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vishishyate. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, that person is far superior. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyo hi akarmana sharira yatra pichate na prasidhyate karmana. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without doing work. So everybody has to work. Yagnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. But Lord Krishna says that work should be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise, the work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your duty, which is prescribed duty, for Lord Vishnu's satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. Now, Krishna will reveal his identity slowly to Arjuna, and he will reveal that he himself is Lord Vishnu himself. Saha yagna prajahasratva purovacha prajapati anena prasavishyadvam eshavastavaistaka maduka. In the beginning, the Lord of all the creatures sent forth a generation of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Lord Vishnu and blessed by them by saying, be thou happy by this yagna, sacrifice, because this by performance of sacrifice, uh, it will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So in the beginning only, the importance of sacrifice is there. At the beginning of the creation also, Lord instructed everyone to perform sacrifice. Sacrifice means yagna. And yagna only can make one happy. So what is the yagna recommended for Kali Yuga? The Kali Yuga yagna recommended is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's called Sankirtan Yagna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Further, Lord Krishna says, Devan bhavayantanena te deva bhavayantu tehvaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya paran avapshyataha. The demigods, when being pleased by the sacrifice, will please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, the prosperity will reign for all. So Lord Krishna is saying that because if you really want prosperity, then you perform yagna. Ishtan bhogan hivo deva dashyante yagna bhavita te dattan apradya evabhyo yo bhukte stena evasa. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods who are in charge of rain and water, and, wind and sun, and the various demigods are in charge. When they are satisfied by yagna, by sacrifice, all the devatas will supply all the necessities to you. But one who enjoys such gifts without offering them to demigods in turn is certainly a thief. So because we have to take their permission and then take it. So we have to do yagna. Yagna is taking permission. Yagna sistan shina santo मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषौ भुजन्ते त्व अघं पाप ये पचन्ति आत्मकारणात्. Devotees of Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat the food which is first offered as a sacrifice. Others who prepare the food for personal sense gratification, for personal sense enjoyment, they eat what? They eat papa, sin. So here Lord clearly says that whatever the food we use for our daily thing has to be offered first to Lord. If we use it without offering, then it's a papa. Ye pachanti atma karana. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanya sambhava yagnad bhavanti parjanyo yagna karma samudbhava. All living entities, they subsist on the food grains, and food grains are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagna, and yagna is performed, yagna is because of prescribed, yagna is born of prescribed duties. So karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samodbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityayagne pratishtitam. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the act of sacrifice. Evam pravrittim chakram nanuvartantyantithayah aghayurindriyaramo mogham parthasya jivita. My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by Vedas, certainly leads life full of sin. Living only for satisfaction of the senses, such person lives in vain. So we should not live for sense gratification only. Yastva atmaratir evasya atmatriptascha manava atmani evacha santushta tasya karyam na vidyate. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Naiva tasya kritenartho na krutena kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschit artha vyapashraya. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So self-realized man is one who is completely dedicated himself to service of Krishna. He is completely dedicated. तस्माद् आसक्त सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचरः आसक्तो हि अचरं कर्म param apnoti purushah. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. So here Lord instructs Arjuna that you should act without attachment to the fruits of activities, focusing on the process rather than the fruits. Karmanyeva hi samasiddhim astita janakadaya lokasangraham evapi samapashyan kartumarhasi. Kings such as Janaka attain perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So here Lord Krishna is giving example of King Janaka had everything, but still he performed his duty. So Lord Krishna is saying that everybody should do the duty. He further gives an example. He says that yada yada acharati shrestha tad tadaevartaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. Shrestha means the great man. So whatever the action a great man performs, the common man will follow. And whatever the standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So we should be exemplary in our behavior. If we read Bhagavad Gita, then people will read Bhagavad Gita. The coming generations will read Bhagavad Gita. If we do not follow the, no, we can't expect anybody else to follow, right? So we have to set example by our behavior. Without proper behavior, we cannot expect others to follow our instructions. So here, Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna that Arjuna, you are the leader. You should set an example. Yada yada acharati shrestha tadata yevartaho janaha sayat pramanam kurte lokastadanu vartate. You should set the standard by exemplary act. Lord Krishna says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptyam varteva cha karmani. O son of Pritha, there is no work which is prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor I am in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything. Yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So Lord Krishna says, I don't have to do anything, but I'm still doing my work. So why don't you do your work as a Kshatriya? Please fight. Yadi hi aham na varteyam jatu karmanyatandritah mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duty, O Partha, certainly all the men would follow my path and everyone will go to hell. If I don't do, then everybody will say, okay, Krishna is not doing, so I am not doing. But I am doing my duty, so you must do your duty. Udasideyuraime loka na kurya karma chedaham Shankarasya cha kartaishyam upahanyam ima praja. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds will be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all the living entities. Sakta karmani avidvamsho yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tatha shaktas chikitshur loka sangraham. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to the results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Na buddhi bhedam janayeda ajnanam karma sanginam joshiyet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. So as not to disrupt the mind of ignorant man attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned man should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Prakrute kriya karmani gune karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma kartamiti manyate. Lord Krishna, this is another very important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna that the spirit soul is bewildered by influence of false ego, and he thinks himself as the doer of activities which are in fact are carried out by three modes of guna: sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. The gunas are at acting action, but the person thinks that he is doing it. तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागयो गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते. One who is in knowledge of absolute truth, O mighty aunt, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between the work in devotion and work in fruitive results. So one who is knowledgeable about this science of karma would always work for Krishna. It's called work in devotion. प्रकृते गुणसम्मूढा सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान अकृष्ण विदो मंदन कृष्ण विन्ना विचल्यते. Bewildered by modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and they become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to performer's lack of knowledge. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि संन्यास्यध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युद्धस्व विगतज्वरा. Therefore, Arjuna, surrender all your work unto me with full knowledge of me. Mayi sarvani karmani. Know fully that I am the one who is the enjoyer of everything. So Lord Krishna says, surrender all your work unto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, from vigata jvara. Do not be very lazy. Offer your karmas to me. Text 31, third chapter. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manava shraddhavanto anushyanto muchyate api karmabhi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow these teachings faithfully without envy become free from bondage of fruitive actions. ये त्वयेतादभ्याश्रूयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति ते मे मतं सर्वज्ञानविमूढं स्तं विधिनास्तं असचेतसा. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of the knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Sadrusham चेसतत् स्वस्य प्रकृतेर्ज्ञानवाम् अपि प्रकृतिं यन्ति भूतानि निग्रह किं करिष्यति. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes of nature. What can repression accomplish? Text 34. Indriyashendriyarsthe ragadvesho vyavasthito tayornavasham agachet tauhiyasha paripantino. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversions because they are stumbling block on the path of self-realization. So one should be careful about attachment and aversions. Shreyan swadharmo vignoha paradharmat swa anusthitat Swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha. It is far better to discharge one's own duties, even though faultily, than somebody else's duties perfectly. Distractions, Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is much better than engaging in another's duty. For to follow another's path is very dangerous. Arjuna is asking to Lord Krishna. Arjuna vacha atah kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anicham api varshneya bhalad eva niyojitah. So Arjuna is asking, hey Krishna, by what is one impelled to do sinful activities? Even sometimes people do sinful activities unwillingly, as if some force is engaging them in sinful activities. So why people do sinful activities? So at that time Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Sri Bhagavan Vach, chapter 3, text 37, Kamesha Krodhesha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapam Vidyenam Hi Vairinam. Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Krishna said to Arjuna, hey Arjuna, it is Kama, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the three modes of nature. And this lust is later transformed into wrath. And wrath, which is the all devouring sinful enemy of the world. Text 38. Dhrumena vardiyate vahanir yadha darsho malena cha yatholpena vruto garbhas tatha tene tamavrutam. Lord Krishna again gives analogy to explain us throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Krishna is giving another analogy here. He is saying that this lust is of different grades. And one example here is given is, as the fire is covered by the smoke, as the mirror is covered by the dust, and as the embryo is covered by the womb, similarly, the living entity is also covered by different degrees of lust. Avruttam gnanam etena gnanino nityavairinam kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena lena cha. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like a fire within the body. Indriyani manobuddhir ashyadhisthanamuchyate etar vimohayati esa gnanam avritya dehinam. Thus, the senses, the mind and intelligence, they are the sitting places for lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of living entity. And the lust is the one which bewilders the living entity. Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya bharata varshabha papamanam prajahena gnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in very beginning curved this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating senses and slay this destroyer of the knowledge and self-realization. Text 42. Indriyani parani ahur indriyarthebhyas param manah Manasastu parabuddhi yo buddhi paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter, and mind is higher than the senses, and intelligence is still higher than the mind, and the soul is even higher than the intelligence. So here is the hierarchy of all our existence. First is the senses, then on the top of the senses is mind, then the intelligence, then the soul. Text 43. Evam buddhi param buddha samasta bhayatmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durashatam. Thus, knowing oneself to be the transcendental to the material senses, the mind and intelligence, O mighty Arjuna, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this unsatiable enemy called as lust. Thus ends the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So now we are progressing to the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. How is everyone doing here? माता जी ठीक है? आप ठीक हैं? आप ठीक है प्रभु जी? हाँ? पानी पीजिएगा, पानी माता जी को दीजिएगा. पानी है? How is our friends online doing? Everybody okay? Everybody is doing good. Badal Prabhu, Bhavya, Chandarji, Kadambariji, Parulji, all of the friends. I hope you are enjoying Bhagavad Gita. Ready? So we completed the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we will continue with our fourth chapter now. Anil Bhai joining us from Toronto as well. So thank you, Anil Bhai. Chapter number 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Transcendental Knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Imam Vivastvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivashvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakvaya Brahmi. Now Lord Krishna is giving the history of this Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Lord Krishna says, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to son called Vivashvan. The Vivashvan instructed this to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu instructed this to Ikshvaku. Evam parampara praptim imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale nehamhata yoga nashta parantapaha. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So Lord Krishna is saying that this science is millions of years old, and then the chain was broken down. Text 3. Sa evayam mayate adhya yoga proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is being told by me to you, Bhagavad Gita, because, hey Arjuna, you are my devotee as well as my dear friend, and therefore you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Bhakto sime sakacheti. So at that time, Arjuna has a question to Lord Krishna. Arjuna says, He Krishna, Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivashvatah katham etad vijaniyam tvam adu proktavam. Arjuna says, Hey Krishna, just hold on. You just said that you told this imperishable science to son god Vivashwan. But then son god Vivashwan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that you instructed this to son god Vivashwan? You just came. and Vivashwan is millions of years old. So at that time, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me Vyatitani Janmani Tavacharjuna Tani Aham Veda Sarvani Natvam Venta Parantapa. Hey Arjuna, many births, both you and I, Krishna, have passed. But I am Lord Krishna, I can remember everything. But you cannot, oh subdue your enemy. So this is the difference between God and ordinary living entity. God remembers everything, but we just forget everything. Ajopi san avyatma bhutanam ishvaro san prakrutim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all the living entities, Krishna is revealing himself now more and more to Arjuna, saying that I am the Lord of everything. I am the Lord of everything. Bhutanam Ishvaro api. I still appear in every millennium. Sambhavami Atma Maya in my original form. So Lord Krishna, he says that I am the Lord of all the entities and I come every time. And my body never deteriorates like ordinary body. He says further, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhuthanam dharmasya तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. आप भी जोर से बोल सकते हैं मेरे साथ. Whenever and wherever there is decline in the religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. The Lord comes every yuga cycle. Further he says, Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Now Krishna says, why does he appear in every millennium? So he says, I have appeared to deliver the pious and annihilate the people who are miscreants. Lord comes for both the purpose. And at the same time, re-establish the principle of religion. Lord Krishna appears millennium after millennium. The Lord appears Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Now Lord Krishna says about his own appearance and his life. Lord Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. Hey Arjuna, listen. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and my activities, that I am unborn, eternal, my body never deteriorates, and I come every yuga cycle again and again, Sambhavami Yuga Yuga, to protect my devotees, and one who knows my activities, he does not, upon leaving this body, take this birth again into this material world, but Naiti Mameti Sorjuna, he attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. वीतराग भया क्रोध मम माया ममुपाश्रितः बहो ज्ञान तपसा भूतमद्भवाम् आगतः. Lord Krishna says, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past become purified by knowledge of me. And thus they all attain the transcendental love for me. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatheva bhajamyaham mam vartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvashah. As all surrender to Krishna, Krishna rewards them accordingly. Everyone follows Krishna's path in all respects. Text 12. Kangshatah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devata kshipram hi manushaloke siddhir bhavati karmaja. People who are desire of success in the fruitive material activities, and for the material things they worship Devi Devtas. And of course, when man worships Devi Devtas, they get the results for the material activities in this world. Lord Krishna says, Chaturvarnam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. Now he is describing about Chaturvarnam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society, which are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are created by Krishna, Lord Krishna. And although I, Lord Krishna, is the creator of this system, you should know that I, Krishna, is yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So Krishna is saying that according to the modes of nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, four Varnashrama system is developed. And this is according to Lord Krishna's creation. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spruha, iti mam yo abhijanati, karma bhirna sabhadyate. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in fruitive reactions of the world. So Lord Krishna says, I am not in need of anything and no work can bind me. Evam gnatva kritam karma purverapi mumukshabhi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purve purvataram kritam. In Purve, in past also, the liberated souls in the ancient times, they acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, you should perform your duty following the instructions of the previous acharyas. As they spend their life in serving Krishna, we should learn from them, and may this life be spent for service of Krishna. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayo api yatra mohita tatve karma pravikshyami yajnatva mokshashe shubhat. Here Arjuna, even the intelligent men are bewildered in determining what is action, what is karma, and what is karma, what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what karma is, what action is, knowing which you should be liberated from all the misfortune. So now Lord Krishna is going to explain what is karma, akarma and vikarma. Karmano hi api bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gati, gahana karmano gati, gahana karmano gati. Gahana means very deep. Lord Krishna is saying, hey Arjuna, these intricacies of actions and reactions are very hard to understand. It is very, very deep. Therefore, you should know what is karma, what is action, what is vikarma, what is forbidden action, and what is akarma, what is inaction. Karmanya karmaya pashe akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhima manusheshu sahayukta krishna karmakra. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. He is an intelligent man among all the men. And he is in the transcendental position. Although he is engaged in all sorts of activities. So one who is intelligent, he'll try to See how he can make karma into akarma. How do you make karma into akarma? So do the karma for service of Krishna. So that is karma in Krishna consciousness. Yassa sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagdha karmana tamahu panditam buddha. Hey Arjuna, one who is understood to be in the full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. And what is that perfect knowledge? That perfect knowledge is that this life is given to us by Krishna. Yes, it is for his service, not for the sense gratification. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya trupto nirashraya karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Abandoning all attachment to the results of activities, ever satisfied and independent. One who performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all undertakings. So devotees, they perform all the actions, but they dedicate it all for service of Krishna. And they abandon all attachment to results of the activities. Always satisfied and independent. Nirashriya yata chittatma tyakta sarma parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan namnoti kilvisha. Sharira kevalam karma. Shariram kevalam karma. What is that? Man who has understanding about Krishna consciousness and life is for the service of higher cause. Such a man acts with mind and intelligence, perfectly controlled. He is controlling the senses also. And he gives up all the sense of proprietorship over his possessions. And he acts only for the bare necessities of life. Sharira kevalam karma. Just to maintain, he will work. Thus, working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So he is an intelligent man. Yadracha labha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasidva siddho cha kritva na vidibhadyate. He who is satisfied with gain which comes out of its own accord, who is free from dualities, does not envy anyone, one who is steady in both success and failure, and is never entangled, although performing actions, he is the steady mind. So, devotees are very stable. They are not worried about success, failure, gain, loss. It's all for Krishna. Gata sangasya muktasya gnanavastita chetasa yajnaya charatah karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in the transcendental knowledge merges entirely into the transcendence. Brahmarpanam brahmavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmeva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consumption is absolute and that which is offered is of same spiritual nature. Devam eva pare yagnam yoginam parupashate brahmagno apare yagnam yagnevo pujyahavati. Some yogis, they perfectly worship demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. Some offer sacrifices in the fire of Supreme Brahma. Shotradini indriyani anni sama yamagnishu jhuvati shabdadin vishayan anya indriyagneshu jhuvati. Some unadulterated brahmacharis, they sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others, the regulated householders, they sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of sense. Sarva indriyani karma sarva indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyamya yogagno juvati gnana deepite. Lord Krishna says, others who are interested in achieve self-realization through control of mind and senses, they offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as an oblation into the fire of control of mind. So Lord Krishna is explaining about different types of sacrifices. And in text 28, he is offering here, he is explaining here to chapter 4, text 28, he is explaining about the different yagnas. Dravya yagnas, tapo yagna, yoga yagnas, tatha pare, swadhyaya gnana yagnascha, yataya samasita vrataha. So there are different types of yagna called dravya yagna. Dravya yagna, tapo yagna, yoga yagna, swadhyaya yagna. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, which is called dravya yagna. Some people give the money. Others by performing tapa, severe austerities. By practicing yoga of eightfold mysticism. Or by swadhyaya yagna, by studying the Vedas, they advance in transcendental knowledge. Chapter 4, text 29. Apane juvati pranam, prane apanam tatha pare, pranapana gati rudva, pranayama parayana, apare niyatahara, pranan praneshu juvati. Now Lord Krishna is saying about different types of sacrifices. Still others who are inclined in the process of breath restraint remain in trance, practiced by offering the movement of outgoing breath into ingoing and incoming breath into outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping their all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. So some people, they control their breathing, pranayam process. Some people, they give up the food, upvas, fasting. Sarve api ete yagno vidho yagna kashpito kalmasha yagna shishta amrita bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam. All these performers who know the meaning of the sacrifice becomes cleansed of their sinful reactions. And having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. Nayam loko asti ayagnasya kuto anya kuru sattama. O best of Kuru dynasty, Arjuna, without sacrifice, one can never live happily in this planet or in the next life. What then is of the next? So Lord Krishna is saying sacrifice is compulsory. Different types of sacrifices he mentioned. He said dravya yagna, tapa yagna, swadhyaya yagna. Some people do fasting, pranayam. But what is the yagna prescribed for Kali Yuga? What is the prescribed yagna for Kali Yuga? Samkirtan yagna. Hare nama eva kevalam. So you cannot remain happy without yagna. And what is the yagna for remaining happy in this Kali Yuga is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mahamantra yagna. Evam bahuvidha yagna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajam vidditan sarvam evam gnatva vimokshase. All these different types of sacrifices are approved by Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Shreyan dravyamaya yagnas gnani yagna parantapaha sarvan karma akhilam partha jnana parishamyate. O chastiser of enemy, hey Arjuna, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possession. After all, O Saraprata, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. तद्विधि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदक्षन्ति te ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master. Inquire from the spiritual master submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart the knowledge unto you because you have seen the truth. यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यस्यसि पाण्डवा येन भूतानि अशेषानि द्रक्ष्यसि आत्मनि यथो मयि. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, they are mind. अपि चेदशि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृतः तमः सर्वां ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजीनां संतर्ष्यसि. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the mode of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. यथेधांसि समिधोऽग्निर्भस्मसत् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्नि सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसत् कुरुते तथा. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to all ashes, all reactions to material activities. So knowledge means knowledge about Krishna consciousness will burn all the karmic reactions. Nahi jnanena sadrasham pavitram iha vidyate tata swayam yoga samsiddhan kalena atmani vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and so pure as the transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Shraddhaval labhate jnanam tatparaha samyamate indriya jnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Ajnanascha shraddhadhanascha samshayan atma vinashyati nayam loko asti na paro na sukham samshayatmana. But the ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain the God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in next. Yoga sannyasta atma karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmanam na karmani nibandhanti dhananjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work, O conqueror of preachers. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam ritastham gnana shinatmana chitvenam samashayam yogam Atishtostha Bharata. Therefore, the doubts which have been arisen in your heart of the ignorance should have been slashed by the weapon of knowledge, armed with yoga. O Bharat, stand and fight. Thus ends the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Transcendental Knowledge. Now we are entering the fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Karma Yoga in Krishna Consciousness. Karma Yoga in Krishna Consciousness is the. So now what we'll do is we'll take a short break for about 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes. And those who are joining us online, this link, those who are joining through the Demio platform, I see Badal Prabhu, Chandraji, Kadambari ji, they are joining us through Demio platform. The duration link is 3 hours, so it gets disconnected. So you have to join it again with the same link. So then you will be logging back into the same platform. So we have still some time, but just to let you know that if you get disconnected somehow on the Demio platform, then just log in again so that you will be able to join again. Okay, so those who are just joining and just letting you know on the Demio platform that if you get locked out or if somehow the session ends, just log in back in so the session will start again. Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll take some water. मुझे पानी देंगे? माता जी ठीक है आप? Thank you. Chapter number 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Arjuna is asking questions to Lord Krishna. Arjuna Uhacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha samshashi Yashreha itayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishitam. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce the work, and then again you recommend to work in devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of two is more beneficial?" Bhagavan Vacha Sanyasah Karma Yogascha Niharshreha Karavubho Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yoga Vishishyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, "The renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work." Sukham bandhat pramuchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. Sankhya Yoga Prithak Bala Pravadanti na Pandita Ekam api astitah samyag Ubhayor Vindate Phalam. Only ignorant speak of devotional service, Karma Yoga, as being different from analytical study of material world, Sankhya Yoga. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. So Lord Krishna is saying that Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga are not different. Yata Sankhye prapayante sthanam tada yogerapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yaha pashyati sa pashyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service. and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkham abdum ayogatah yoga yukto manur brahma na chirena digachati. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But though person engaged in devotional service, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So Lord Krishna is saying that just renouncing is not enough, but engaging in devotional service is very important. Text 7. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vichitadma jitendriya sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi na lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is pure soul, and he controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyate tattvavid pashyan shrunavam sprusham jigraham asnan gachan swashan pralapan visarjan grahanam anumisham nimisham api indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharaya. A person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving and opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tvakta karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padmapatram vivambasha. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful reactions. As the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So here is Lord Krishna giving another analogy of lotus. Lotus is not touched by the water. If you put the water, it slides away. Similarly, one who performs duty without attachment and surrender the results to Supreme Lord is not affected by any reactions. Kaina manasa buddhaya kevale indriya api yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyakta atma shuddhe. The yogis abandoning attachment act with body and mind, intelligence and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. Yukta karma phalam tyakva shanti apnoti naishtikam ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadyate. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities unto me, Krishna. Whereas the person who is not in union with divine, who is greedy for the fruits of labor, he becomes entangled. So Lord Krishna is saying that one who is not attached and one who is gives up his activities, results to Lord Krishna, he is not bound by anything. Sarva karmani manasa sanyashyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan karyan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. Na kartutvam na karmani lokasya shujati prabhu na karma phala samayogam svabhavastu pravartate. The embodied spirit The master of city of this body does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create fruits of action. All this is enacted by modes of material nature. नात्तते कश्चित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभो अज्ञाने आवृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of ignorance, which covers their real knowledge. ज्ञाने तु तद् अज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाश्यति ततः परम्. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which ignorance is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Tada buddhayas tada atmanas tada nishtasta parayana gachanti apunaravrittam gnana nirdhuta kalmasha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So when our mind and senses and our faith, everything is fixed in Krishna, then it cleans up all the misgivings. Text 18. विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि सुनीचैव स्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिनः. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentleman, a cow and an elephant, a dog and a dog eater. So Pandita Sama Darshana, he will see soul within everyone and super soul within everyone. Eva Tairachita Sargo Esha Same Sitha Manah Nirdosham Hi Samam Brahma Tasmad Brahmani Te Astita. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Na prahashyeta priyam prapya no dvijate prapya cha priyam sthira buddhir asamuddho brahmavid brahmani sthita. A person who is neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God is already situated in transcendence. Bhahyasparsheva shaktatma vidanti atmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Such liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukha yonaya evate adi antavataha kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have beginning and an end, and so wise man does not delight in them. Shaknoti hyevaiha shodhu prakasharira vimokshanat kama krodha udbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhi naraha. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the forces of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तर अरामस् तथान्तर ज्योतिरेव स योगी ब्रह्म निर्वाणं ब्रह्मभूतो अधिगच्छति. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So happiness is within. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rashyam Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaitha Yatatmana Sarvabhuta Hiterata. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from the doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. Kama Krodha Vimuktatma Vimuktanam Yati Nam Yatachetasam Adito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Vidita Atmanam. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, who are disciplined, who are constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme and they are assured of liberation in Supreme in very near future. Text 27 and 28. Sparsha kritva bahirбhayam chakshusha chaivantare bhruva pranapanav samakritva nasha bhayantaracharino yatendriya manobuddhir munirmoksha parayana vigatecha bhaya krodha yata shadha mukta eva saha. Shutting all our external sense objects, keeping the eyes and visions concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breath within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind and the senses and the intelligence. The transcendentalist, among aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear and anger. One who is always in this state certainly is liberated. Text 29, 5th chapter. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suradayam sarva bhutanam vinatmamam shanti prachati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains the peace from the pangs of material miseries. Thus ends the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Work in Krishna Consciousness. So, as I mentioned before, that this session on the Daimyo is going to end within next 1 minute. So I'm logging out, and we can meet exactly after 15 minutes actually. So it's almost 12:55. So we'll meet here at let's say 1:15. We'll meet again. So we'll take a 15 minutes, 20 minutes break now. We'll hope to see you all. Thank you so much. Kadambari ji, Geeta ji, Chandra ji, Badal Prabhu. Thank you for joining us. We have prepared the prasadam for you, but you are at home, so we can't ship the prasadam to you. But hope you can join us. If not now, then the evening. Hare Krishna. So we'll meet here at 1:15. We'll take a break for 15 minutes. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So I'm closing this session and we'll log in again after some time. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anil Bhai, you're online, so hope to see you.